Hello, class. I'm Professor Reynolds, and I will be your guide for Accounting 202, which is really managerial accounting. I expect that most of the classes that you've taken are geared more for financial accounting, general accepted accounting principles, income statements, balance sheets, statement of cash flows, statement of retained earnings, and the various components of those. And those are directed externally to investors, to creditors, to government agencies. This is something that's internal. And so most of the focus really is going to be providing information for people in your company. How much things cost. What is the manufacturing cost to produce a car if you're in the car business? You can see that overall we have 8 chapters that we'll be reading. And there are different types of managerial accounting subjects. I've always liked managerial accounting because it tells you why. How much did this cost? It allows you to experiment. Well, what if we change this? What would be the impact? We start out with just the introduction. We go to job order costing, process costing. These really are involved in the manufacturing process, but they can be involved with service as well. Activity-based costing. So if I have different types of activities like setup charges um, that I have to create, I want to assign those to the specific product that I'm making rather than just spreading overhead by some other method, such as service hours or labor hours. And so we'll be looking at those and some of the ways that we can get better cost information because the goal here is so that we can provide good information. That's what we as accountants are. We collect information, we organize it, and we provide answers. Cost volume profit analysis. This is something that would be good in manufacturing or service. It allows you to determine what your break even is. How many procedures do I have to do if I'm in medicine? If I'm a plumber, how many calls do I have to make uh, to break even? Or if I want to make $1 million, how many calls do I have to make? How many plumbers do I need? How many cars do I have to sell, etc.? And so it allows you to play with the different variables. In a manufacturing process, you have a plant, and every cost has to be assigned to a product. And so that really is what our goal is, to make the best decisions on how to assign these costs. And then we'll look at variable costing for management. We'll also look at, let's see, evaluating variances from standard cost. Most manufacturers will say, all right, if I'm building a car, then I have a bill of material, which is a list of all the parts that would go into this car. And so I know that, and I know how much they should cost. I also should have an idea of what labor I'm going to need, and then I'm going to assign overhead through some of the various methods that we've talked about here. Because again, every part of that factory, all those costs have to be assigned and allocated somewhere. So you can see again, we have the different 8 chapters to read. We have problem sets. We have discussions. We have milestones. And then we have a project at the end, and this project is going to take some effort. Well, it's 20% of your grade, so you would expect that it's going to take a little time. But that's all you will have to do by module 7. And then module 8, it's only worth 30 points. It's discussion for the job search, which should be beneficial to you. But really, at the end of week 7, most of the class is completed. Most of the grades, 97% of your grades have already been achieved. This last project is just going to be the scenario is your business has been opened a month and you have prepared an income statement and completed a variance analysis on the data. Now you will meet with investors and a few other internal stakeholders to share your company's progress over the past month and how it's performed with respect to your cost and budget projections. And, by that time, you'll know how to do this. You're either going to create a PowerPoint or you're going to create an investor report in a Word file. So by that time, you'll have all of the tools necessary. Now, this is an asynchronous course, which means that you can access it at any time. You have deadlines, but you can work on it whenever you want. That's an advantage, but it's also a disadvantage. If you take a class live, in person, or even live via remotely, you have a structure. You know that at this point in the week, at this time, you're going to need to be available. I think you should go ahead and follow that rule, follow that process. So you should tell your family and friends that, hey, every Tuesday night from this time and every Saturday from this time, I'm going to be working on this course. And so please don't bother me during those times. The first week, we have an assignment where you're going to be looking at different managerial accounting jobs. And you're also going to tell us a little about yourself. And so that is going to be part of the assignment. So when you get an assignment, make sure that you cover all the bases. If you write a paper um, for any of these classes at SNHU, there are guidelines. And I recommend you follow the guidelines and you should format your paper very similar to what they're specifically asking. This class will go by quickly. It really is, as I said, 7 weeks. The eighth week is just, should be a fairly easy project. By then, you'll pretty much have an idea of how you've done. It's easy to get behind. And so I encourage you to stay on top of it by setting those times where hey, I am going to work these days. This is what works for me. And you focus on those. Sometimes life happens, and if something comes up, make sure to let me know. If you don't complete the assignment on time, you can still do it a week later, but you'll suffer a 10% penalty. So if you miss the problem set, then and you do it the following week, the highest grade you're going to get in this case would be a 63. Now, concerning the problem sets, I will be providing some samples for you. And so by looking at the samples, it should give you an idea on how to complete the assignments. I hope to also have some videos, but you should have some guidelines for doing the problems. And hopefully I will be able to create the videos and we'll go through and look at the problem sets. But, read the chapters and then look at the instructions for the discussion. The first one, again, you're going to, in this discussion, you will consider the relevance of managerial accounting and different professional roles. You'll introduce yourself. And so, again, that's part of it. If you don't introduce yourself, then you're not going to get full credit for the discussion. The, again, beauty of SNHU is you could be anywhere in the country. I am in my home study here in the Nashville, Tennessee area. But I've had people from California, from New York, from Illinois, Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, all over the place. And sometimes maybe you feel a little isolated. So let's get to know each other, all right? You may be in the same class with some of these people going forward. So I would like to get to know you a little better. And so I'll start. My name's Brooks Reynolds. I have been teaching at SNHU for probably a year and a half, but I've been teaching at Middle Tennessee State University for probably 6 or 7 years. I am an accountant. I'm a CPA. I do taxes during tax season and I do a little teaching, but for the most part, I am mostly retired. My career, the last 15 years, again, I was a CPA. I worked in the medical field and the insurance field for a $1 billion company in both cases. So I've worked for fairly large companies. I've been responsible for a pretty wide range of accounting duties. Prior to that, I was a manager in the medical field. I managed outpatient imaging centers. I also managed mobile MRI, mobile lithotripsy, and mobile nuclear medicine. Prior to that, I fixed CAT scanners. So I have some knowledge of electronics. And then prior to that, I was in the US Navy, where I was a submarine sonar technician on a couple of nuclear submarines. In my spare time, I I believe exercise is essential to good health. So I spend a lot of time exercising. I walk, I do strength training, and I practice Taekwondo. I have 4 children, 6 grandchildren. They're spread throughout the country in California, in Georgia, in South Carolina, and we've managed to keep one here in Tennessee. In my spare time, I also am pursuing a history degree. I have 3 degrees. I have an undergraduate degree in finance, I have an MBA, and I have a master's degree in accounting. I achieved all of these degrees while working, so I completely understand what you're going through here. I am again completing my history degree, so I love history. I don't know if you can see the let's see. So yeah, you have George Washington, and I have Truman, two of my favorite presidents. And I've read a book about every dead president. So, and I also do a little woodworking. So I did build these shelves. Uh, I think they look pretty good, but really because my wife's super strength is that she's really good at decorating shelves. Although it's hard to go wrong with books, right? So that's me. And I want to tell you that I want you to be successful. Accounting has been a great career for me. If you're organized, if you like math, if you like logic, then accounting is going to be a great career. It's going to be the type of work that you really like to do. Right now, there are more accountants leaving the industry than joining the industry. So your long term job prospects are going to be excellent. And you should be rewarded both financially and professionally if this is the kind of work that you like. So, getting your accounting degree is worth it. It is worth the extra effort that you're going to need to not only live a life, have a job, but also complete this course. So, I want to re-emphasize that this will go by quickly. And it's easy to get behind. And then it's easy to get frustrated and go, well, I'm going to go ahead and give up. But don't. I want you to be successful. You've made a commitment. So let's follow through on that commitment. All right. Well, I guess the only thing to do is to start reading chapter 1.